right, so over the weekend, Nicolas Maduro, the president of, well, now former president of Venezuela, was captured by the United States. And from what I understand, this has been kind of a long time coming. And of course, we got people that are in full support of the president, and we have people that are condemning the president of these actions. And I think that as time goes on, I think we'll start to get more and more details of how long this has been an effort to remove Nicolas Maduro from power and what's going to happen with the relationship between us as Americans and Venezuela. What is that relationship going to look like in the future? Because it seems that now we have total control over Venezuela. And of course, you got the Democrats and you got the leftist liberals who are totally upset. They don't like this move at all. And they've always said that Donald Trump is a dictator and this, that, and the third. And I'm pretty sure as this week goes on, we're going to hear more and more of that. But one thing that kind of stood out to me that I do want to take time to cover in this particular video is that it seems the Venezuelans, now from majority of the videos that I've seen, a lot of the Venezuelans have been celebrating Maduro being removed from power. Now, I think that I remember when Hugo Chavez, who was the guy that preceded Maduro, he was starting to take Venezuela into the right direction. Now, I haven't really been keeping up with this over the years. I've heard bits and pieces of the story over time. I've kind of understood what was happening in Venezuela since the late 90s, going into until the time of Hugo Chavez's death. But I think that right before he died, he started kind of cutting back the oil supply, and I think he cut the United States off. I might be wrong on that. You guys leave me a message in the comments and you let me know if I'm right on that or not. But anyway, from what I understand, to kind of give you guys a backstory to what had happened, Venezuela was about to become a pretty wealthy country because they have one of the largest oil supplies or oil reserves in the world. So Chavez had, and I want to say, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong again, I think he cut oil supply like in the mid 2000s or the early 2000s or something like that. He dies, and then Maduro takes office. Maduro basically becomes a dictator. He starts to supply some of our enemies oil, and the United States have, I think we've kind of given sanctions to Venezuela over time because they're sending our enemies oil. President Trump has come in now, and I know he seized a couple of oil tankers from Venezuela that were going to like Iran to some of our enemies. And the whole thing with the drugs and all of that and all of those types of things, it's just a lot of layers to kind of peel back on this. I personally believe that the president is probably doing the right thing, but I am hearing some chatter about this might be just a fight for oil. This is kind of the same thing that they did with Saddam Hussein in the Middle East. But like I said, we're going to go ahead and watch a video to see what are the Venezuelans' reactions, because I think that that's the most important. Because if Nicolas Maduro was that much of a dictator, I believe that this is one of the reasons why the people who are from Venezuela, and we're talking about Venezuelans who are living in other countries, they're all celebrating, even those who are here in the United States. So it's kind of odd to me that people would have a pushback on this and be upset for the Venezuelans who are not upset at all over this move. But let me go ahead and bring this up. Now, this was from NBC News, and they're going to show some people, Venezuelans in particular, celebrating the removal of Nicolas Maduro as the president, or I would say the dictator of Venezuela. Let's listen in on this.
Let me go now to George Solis, who is live for us in South Florida. And George, I think we have you. I know it's a little bit loud where you are. We have spoken with Jesse Kirsch. We've spoken with you. I know that you're in the thick of it there as you have Venezuelans gathering now, many of them celebrating the removal of Nicolas Maduro.
Yeah, exactly right, Hallie. We're in Doral, Florida, affectionately known as Dorozuela. This right here, the gathering center outside Arepaso. Crowds have been coming and going. This party showing no signs of slowing down. Every so often, the music will pick up. You'll hear horns honking, people in support, the flags of Venezuela flying here across the crowd. Moments ago, the crowd chanting in Spanish, the government is over, the government has fallen.
And now here's the thing that you have to understand, especially if you are a person that is in America and you kind of don't understand what's happening in Venezuela. You know, like I said, I'm no expert on this, and this is something that I think that there's a lot of politics and there's a lot of layers to peel back on this. But the fact that we do have people, especially in Florida, South Florida, which is where I'm originally from, I didn't know that Doral was a place where it had a lot of Venezuelans. But me being in South Florida, I've seen the Venezuelan flags like all over the place. And I've actually talked to a few people from Venezuela, and they've always said that it was a beautiful country. And we're talking about before Maduro had gotten into office. And people always say, hey, you know, maybe you should visit Venezuela one day. You know, it's a very, very beautiful place. And from what I understand, Maduro has taken Venezuela and just turned it into a really bad place where people are having a hard time just making money just to be able to eat a decent meal. I heard that some of the people were eating like small mammals and stuff like that to stay alive. And this is not me trying to be insulting to the people of Venezuela, but just to kind of give you guys an idea of how bad things had gotten. So again, now this is just in South Florida. I saw some videos where Venezuelans were in Peru and other countries that were throughout the Caribbean and in South America, where they all were taken to the streets and they were celebrating this.
And that's, again, just a number of chants that we have been hearing about freedom, liberty. I have been to this area numerous times while we've been covering the story of Venezuela, Hallie, and so many people in this community say we have not felt comfortable to step out to speak, many of them not wanting to show their faces out of fear of concern for their families in Venezuela. Today, a much different story, as so many have gathered here in this community ready to share their experience.
And look, this is what we have to understand. You know, us as Americans, we don't understand some of the struggles that other people go through in other countries. And I think that sometimes we can kind of lock ourselves into a particular algorithm in this case to where we can choose a side, you know, Democrat or Republican, liberal or conservative. And sometimes we can kind of forget what is happening with the people that's in the middle, especially with this. Now, according to news reports, Maduro has been running drugs and fentanyl and all of that stuff to America. And that's why people have been kind of praising the president with stopping the drug boats from coming over here into America, bringing a lot of that poison, which has been killing a lot of people here in the United States due to like overdoses and all of that. And fentanyl, I've seen some of the videos, especially of people in Philadelphia who are, I mean, some of these people are just spaced out. They look like zombies, just being high. And I mean, it's just crazy videos. You guys got to check some of that stuff out. But, you know, people just out there with the fentanyl, and it's becoming a problem in the United States. So Donald Trump, and of course, the leftists and the Democrats and the liberals, I think you kind of put them all together. They've been really critical about Donald Trump because he's been blowing up the drug boats. And, you know, we've been able to see it on camera. And one of the things that I know that Donald Trump mentioned was that if you think that footage is bad, look at the footage that was released under Obama when they were doing drone strikes on the terrorists in the Middle East. And I was actually just talking to my wife about this the other day, and I've seen a lot of those videos, and this was like back in like 2014, 2015, and I'm like, hey, sometimes I think that we do have to eliminate threats, especially people who are threatening the people who live here in the United States. So I think that this move, if I got to be honest, I'm just watching. I want to make sure that this doesn't turn into another thing where we end up in the Middle East and, you know, we're just out, we're just fighting for whatever reason. We're just sending troops out. I don't think that it's going to be on that big of a scale as it was back in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Syria. I don't think that we're going to end up having a lot of troops and a lot of fighting. But I am interested to see how this is going to play out. Because, of course, if we have access to the oil, that should bring down the petroleum and energy prices here in America. And Donald Trump has promised to lower the energy costs in other countries as well, which I think would be a good thing. But at the same time, you know, we're just kind of keeping an eye out on everything because, you know, we do have some people who are our enemies who were depending on that oil coming from Venezuela. We're going to see how they are going to retaliate. So I think that right now this is a time that we really have to pay attention to what's going on in politics. I don't really think that Donald Trump has anything to prove but his ego, you know, just to be able to come in and say that, hey, you know, I was the only president that was able to come in and do this and no other president could ever do it bigger and better than me. You know, I hope you guys like my Donald Trump impression. But I think that that's probably the only thing that Donald Trump is looking for is bragging rights, you know, because he's made his billions in real estate. I don't think that this is, you know, him trying to make extra money or anything like that. So I would say, kudos to the president for making this move. And hopefully we do see Venezuela become a country that is thriving again, where people are now being able to eat. Hopefully this gives a lot of jobs to the Venezuelan people and just making Venezuela great again. But anyway, whatever you guys think, let me know what y'all think in the comment section below, right? I mean, do you guys think that my take is off? Do you think that we're just going over there to seize oil, or we're trying to be bullies? Or do you really think that Donald Trump is really trying to do something good for the country of Venezuela? All right. Listen, as always, you guys have a blessed day, and I will catch you guys on the next one.